For our subculture video, we chose to look at the skier/snowboarder subculture. Throughout the country, this subculture exists at various ski resorts, which are prevalent in both the eastern and western mountainous portions of our country. At the ski resort we looked at, Massanutten, which is near Harrisonburg, we found two main sources of food for skiers and snowboarders. The lodge cafeteria, which offers general concession-like foods, nachos, pizza, cheese fries, etc., and then we also found a more restaurant-like, formal eating establishment within the lodge. As you can see, there exists a great range in both the types and styles of dress in this subculture. Several common features usually include warm, waterproof jackets and snow pants, which protect the skier or snowboarder from both the cold and wetness of the snow. These two pieces of clothing usually represent the most colorful and diverse forms of attire. They allow the wearer to display their individualism, a key aspect of this piece of society. Other common pieces of clothing include gloves, boots, goggles, and occasionally a helmet. Both an artifact and a rite of passage in this subculture, the ski lift represents every beginner's first lesson. After all, you can't go down the slope until you get to the top. The beginner lifts have a conveyor belt which carries the skier or snowboarder at the same speed as the chair, drastically helping the beginners who are not yet proficient in the art of getting on the lift. Once the individuals become more experienced, they can move on to the larger slopes, whose lifts don't have the conveyor belt, requiring a little more experience to get on the lift. Lastly, once the individual makes it to the top of the lift, he or she must then master the process of getting off the lift, something which takes a surprisingly large amount of time for some to get the hang of. An experienced snowboarder or skier should be able to get off and stop without a problem, something very few beginners can do. Pay attention to the skier who flies down the hill, swerving around others almost out of control. A certain etiquette exists out on the slopes among skiers and snowboarders. This skier is an example of someone who violated the etiquette, and the enforcers of the slopes, the ski patrol, made sure he didn't make that mistake twice. Everyone on the slope is required to maintain control while coming down the hill, and not doing so can get you in trouble and earn you a great deal of disapproval from those who share the slope with you. The ski patroller ended up giving the skier a warning with the threat of taking away his pass if he didn't follow the etiquette. Whenever snow is in the right condition, both snowboarders and skiers have the ability to spray snow on each other. Spraying, however, can be potentially dangerous if not done correctly because it requires a sprayer to come very close to sprayee at a high rate of speed. If done among friends, it is generally considered a playful way to mess with friends on the slope. However, when done to a stranger, it is often a sign of disrespect. This can lead to disapproval from people on the slope. Because of this, many ski patrollers look down on the practice, as seen here when the patroller comes over and talks to the snowboarder after he comes very close to hitting the person sitting on the ground. Watch the two snowboarders to the far left of the screen. They eventually collide and both fall. Probably one of the biggest unspoken rules of ski and snowboard etiquette is that as two people come down a slope, the one who is higher is responsible for avoiding the person below. You are responsible for those below you. Even if they cut you off, it is your job to avoid them because you can see more. Most collisions result from people who do not follow this rule and crash into those below them. Here's another example of a snowboarder not following this rule. He ends up slamming into the little girl. But don't worry, he was hurt more than she was. Let's watch again in slow motion. The easiest way for an individual to gain approval from those on the slope is to simply be a good snowboarder or skier and to be courteous. People respect someone who can control themselves at high speed and make precise turns and simply look confident on their board or skis. One final rite of passage and way to gain approval can be seen in the terrain park, an area with jumps and rails. Beginners start off on small jumps with little air and work their way up to the larger, more dangerous jumps.